millionaire came home unannounced and froze when he saw what the maid was doing to his son. The marble floors echoed beneath Leonard's polished shoes as he stepped through the front door earlier than expected. At 37, the sharply dressed black millionaire, clad in a crisp white suit and a baby blue tie, had planned to surprise his staff and steal a quiet moment with his infant son, Zion. His business in Dubai had wrapped up ahead of schedule, and for once he longed for something simple, something real, something warm. He didn't announce his return. He liked to catch the house in its natural rhythm, unfiltered by his presence. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw as he walked past the hallway and stepped into the kitchen. There she was, Clara, the new maid, a white woman in her late 20s, dressed in her pale lavender uniform, sleeves rolled up, hair pinned in a tidy yet slightly messy bun. Her face was serene yet focused, hands precise and gentle. Sunlight poured through the large kitchen window, casting a golden glow over her and the sink. And inside the sink, cushioned in a large plastic baby tub, lay Zion. Leonard's heart skipped a beat. His baby boy, barely 8 months old, was softly giggling as Clara carefully poured warm water over his belly, one hand supporting his little head. The water trickled gently over the edge as she adjusted the faucet, checking the temperature against her wrist with practiced ease. Leonard's eyes widened and his breath caught. What was she doing? Why was she even touching Zion? No one was allowed near his son without Rosalind, the personal nanny, present. But Rosalind was off today. Still Clara? Just a maid. He took a step forward, anger rising, but something held him still. Zion wasn't just safe. He was happy. Clara dipped a soft cloth into the warm water, humming a lullaby, one Leonard hadn't heard in years. A song his late wife used to sing. She gently tapped Zion's tiny nose, and he squealed in delight. Leonard stood frozen in the doorway. Memories of his wife came rushing back, her laugh, her scent, the way she would bathe Zion just like that, singing the same tune. It wasn't just that Clara was bathing his son, it was how she was doing it. Tender, motherly, protective. But who was she, really? Leonard could barely remember hiring her. Clara had come through an agency just a few weeks earlier, a last-minute replacement after the previous maid abruptly resigned. He'd only seen her once in passing. He didn't even know her full name. Now she lifted Zion from the tub, his tiny wet body swaddled gently in a soft towel. She brought him close, kissed the top of his curly head, and whispered something only he could hear. Zion nestled into her shoulder, calm and content, his eyelids fluttering like he was already halfway to sleep. Leonard's hands clenched. That was his son, his only son. He finally stepped forward. "What are you doing?" Clara spun around. Her face went pale, eyes wide. She hadn't seen him there. "Sir, I can explain." "Where's Rosalind?" Leonard's voice cut like a blade. "She's still on leave," Clara said, voice trembling. I didn't think you'd be back until Friday." "I wasn't. Yet here I am. And you're bathing my son in the kitchen sink like you're his—" "He had a fever last night," she interrupted, her voice shaky but firm. "It was mild, but he wouldn't stop crying. I couldn't find the thermometer and I didn't want to wait. Last time warm water helped, so I tried again. I was going to tell you." Leonard opened his mouth, but no words came. A fever, and no one told him. His eyes dropped to Zion, now wrapped snug in Clara's arms, making soft cooing sounds. No sign of distress, no crying, just peace, just trust. Still, something burned inside him. Confusion, anger, helplessness. "I pay for the best care," he said, his voice lower now but still stern. "I have nurses on call. You're a maid. You scrub floors, polish furniture. You don't touch my son. Ever. Clara's eyes welled with tears. I didn't mean any harm. I swear. I saw how he was sweating. No one else was here. I couldn't ignore it. Leonard exhaled slowly, trying to steady the storm inside. Put him in his crib, he said. Then pack your things. Her lips parted. Sir, are you firing me? I'm not repeating myself. The words hung in the silence like heavy smoke. Clara stared at him, stunned, frozen, like a porcelain doll on the verge of breaking. Then, slowly, she nodded, turned, and walked away, holding Zion tightly, as if it might be the last time. And Leonard, he stood there in the kitchen, hands braced on the counter, heart pounding louder than the quiet trickle from the faucet. Something inside him shifted, subtle, unnamed, but it was there, flickering like a warning light just beyond reach. Later, he sat alone in his study, fingers still gripping the edge of his polished mahogany desk. The house had fallen into an eerie stillness, too quiet, the kind of silence that seeps into your bones and makes you doubt everything. He should have felt justified, in control. He'd made the right decision, hadn't he? A maid had crossed the line. He'd enforced the boundary. But Clara's voice, trembling yet steady, echoed in his head. The way she had held Zion so delicately, like something precious. It clawed at his conscience. He picked up his phone and opened the baby monitor app. Zion was in his crib, cheeks flushed pink, but sleeping peacefully. Still, something wasn't sitting right. A cold sweat beaded at Leonard's temple. A fever. She said the baby had a fever. And he, his own father, hadn't even known. His chest tightened. Upstairs, Clara stood in the guest room, suitcase half zipped, tears sliding silently down her face. Her lavender uniform, once crisp, was now wrinkled and damp from her trembling hands. She folded the last of her things and gently placed a photograph on top before closing the case. It was worn and faded, her younger brother Elijah in his wheelchair, smiling up at her. He'd passed away 3 years ago. Clara had taken care of him through most of her 20s, dropping out of nursing school after losing her scholarship, right after their parents died unexpectedly. Elijah had epilepsy. On the worst nights when the seizures wouldn't stop, she would hold him close and sing to him, that lullaby, the same one she sang to Zion. She never told anyone. Why would she? People didn't ask maids about their pain. A soft knock stirred the quiet. It wasn't Leonard. It was Harold, the butler. Always composed, always proper. Mr. Leonard asked me to inform you, he said, voice low and formal. Your payment and reference letter will be sent tonight. He's requested you leave before sunset. Clara nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Understood, she whispered. She lifted her suitcase, gave the room one last glance. Then, just as she turned to leave, a faint sound pierced the quiet. A whimper. Zion. She stopped. She knew that cry. Not the usual hunger fuss. Not the tired fuss. The fever cry. The same one from last night. Clara hesitated. She had no right now. Not anymore. But her feet moved before her mind could catch up. She rushed down the hall into the nursery. Zion lay in the crib, body squirming, tiny hands clenched, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. His breathing was shallow, ragged. Clara gasped. All thought of boundaries vanished. Instinct took over. She reached into the crib and gathered him into her arms. She placed her cool hand on Zion's forehead. No, baby. It's back. Step away from him. The voice behind her froze her in place. Leonard stood in the doorway, arms crossed, his face unreadable. She started, but didn't turn. He's not okay, she said instead, her voice low, focused. His fever's higher than before. I have a doctor on the way. Leonard said quickly. "There's no time," Clara replied, and he blinked at the sound of his own name. She had never used it before. "He's dehydrated," she continued, her voice steady now. "His breathing's labored. I think it's an infection, possibly respiratory. If you wait, he might seize." Leonard's posture shifted. He stepped closer, concern overtaking his rigid stance. "How do you know all that?" Clara finally turned to face him. Her eyes were rimmed red, but her gaze was clear. "Because I've seen it before, with my brother." She hesitated, then added quietly, "You don't know me, sir. But I used to study pediatric nursing. I dropped out when my brother needed full-time care. He had epilepsy. I lost him, but I swore I wouldn't let another child suffer if I could help it." Leonard stared at her, the weight of her words crashing through his carefully built walls. Zion whimpered again, and without another word, Leonard stepped forward, gently scooping up his son and placing him in Clara's arms. "Do what you have to do," he said, voice barely above a whisper. She didn't hesitate. She laid Zion back down, placing a cool cloth beneath his arms, adjusting his position to ease his breathing. From the kitchen, she brought a small syringe filled with electrolyte solution and offered him careful, measured drops. Her movements were practiced, calm, clinical. And slowly, Zion's crying eased. By the time the doctor arrived, his temperature had dropped slightly. His breathing had steadied. The doctor confirmed what Clara had suspected: early signs of a respiratory infection. A few more minutes, he said, and Zion might have suffered a febrile seizure. Leonard didn't speak. He simply stood back, watching Clara by the crib, her hand gently stroking Zion's curls, her expression exhausted but focused. After the doctor left, Leonard returned to the nursery. Clara rose to leave, her role, she assumed, now fulfilled. Redemption or not, she expected to be dismissed. But Leonard stopped her with a single sentence. "Don't go." She turned, stunned. "I'm sorry," he said, softer now. "I judged you without asking, without knowing." "I was scared," Leonard admitted, his voice barely steady. "But you saved my son." Clara's eyes brimmed with tears again. He took a deep breath. "Rosalind is retiring soon. I need someone I can trust, someone who cares, not just someone who clocks in and out." Clara blinked, confused. "You mean, as what?" "Not as a maid," he said gently. "Not anymore. I want you to be Zion's full-time caregiver, and if you're willing, I'll sponsor you to finish your nursing degree." Her lips parted, stunned. Words caught in her throat. Leonard gave a soft smile. "I've seen how Zion looks at you. You're already family to him." Her voice cracked. I don't know what to say." He shrugged lightly. "Then don't. Just say you'll stay." Clara reached out, clutching the edge of Zion's crib for support, her emotions finally spilling over. And then she nodded, silently, gratefully. The tears now flowed freely, but this time they carried a different kind of weight. From that day forward, everything changed. Clara wasn't just an employee anymore. She became a pillar in Zion's life. She enrolled again in her pediatric nursing program, and this time she finished. Leonard sat proudly in the audience at her graduation, clapping louder than anyone else. Zion grew stronger, brighter, and happier, always reaching for Clara first, even before his father. And Leonard, he grew too. As a father, as a man. In Clara's quiet resilience, he found healing. In her compassion, a second chance, not just for his son, but maybe, in time, for something more. If this story moved you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing your stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.